Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast, as part of a Storm Robotics article. This audio podcast, as part of a Storm and Blasto. This audio podcast, as part of a breakout edition, and this audio podcast, as part of a Storm Robotics production. In this audio podcast, looking at now the genetics, some of the genetics, and around in regard to Huntington's. So the HD gene makes a protein called Huntington. The exact function of this particular of this specific and particular protein is not ultimately entirely known, but it appears to play an important role in nerve cells. And within cells, Huntington may be involved in signaling, transporting materials, binding proteins, and other structures, and protecting against programmed cell death or a program against programmed cell death and or apoptosis. The Huntington's protein is required for normal development before birth, and it is expressed in many tissues in the body, with the highest levels of expression seen within the central nervous system. One region of the HC gene has particular has a particular sequence of three DNA bases DNA bases uh, where where the three DNA bases are repeated sort of multiple times, and bases are again bases being the building blocks in around DNA. The region in around the around the HD gene is called a trinucleotide not tri is called a trinucleotide repeat, and normally it is repeated 10 between 10 and 26 times, and the repeat leads to a production of Huntington protein that contains a stretch of the contains a stretch of the amino acid glutamine the amino acid glutamine, which is an amino acid used in amongst many proteins. Approximately 3% of recipients develop HD. In amongst literature, has been documented that approximately 3% of recipients develop HD as a result of the repeat of amino acids, particularly amino acids, whereas around 97% inherit a mutant HD allele from an affected parent. New mutant HD genes arise from this expansion of pre-mutation, uh, wherein there is a repeat where there where new mutant HD genes can can sort of repeat between 27 to 35 across 27 to 35 times in around the amino acids to propagate a full HD Huntington's mutation. In amongst the literature, it has been reported that recipients that all recipients that recipients have who have Huntington's, which is where have Huntington's owing to inherited genes, inherited genetics from infected parent, and in the main from a mutation that is from their fa- from the father. That draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast is part of a Storm and Bostics article. This audio podcast as part of a Storm and Blasto. This audio podcast is part of a breakout edition, and this audio podcast is part of a Storm and Bostics production.